Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind. Welcome back if you are coming back, or welcome to the pod. We today are going to be doing a draft talk. We are missing one of our fellow draft talk, draft talkies, if you will, in Coach Roach, of course. I'm joined by Beyond the Locker Room. We're going to get into it, and we're going to get into someone who we've been following their file for a while in Mr. Anderson.
As you can see, we've had our eye on you for some time now, Mr. Anderson.
I like it.
And that would be Christian Anderson out of Texas Tech. So let's just get right into it. Folks, I'm going to be swapping between point guards, centers, and a whole bunch of other ones as well throughout this time period. So, stay tuned. And I did see Blackhawk. Shout out to you. You did talk. You asked about Cameron Carr. We will be getting into Cameron Carr for sure, no doubt about it. Okay, so let's get into it. The young man, sophomore, 6'3". I already said to school. He's been tossing up 19.4 points a night. That goes along with 7.7 assists. And and of course he has a 3.4 turnovers a night. So very, very positive. Well, it's comfortably over, two turnovers, to one assist to turnover ratio easily, very easily. The other thing too is he's very, he's a solid rebounder. I don't think you're relying on him to be a phenomenal rebounder, but he rebounds the ball just under, 4 a game. And I'm just going to get into his offense real quick, and then we'll take it away and we'll kind of do a back and forth from there. But yeah, I would say this man is putting up an efficient season. And, I think the thing about it that's very interesting is, when he had a chance to shrink, when his teammate went down, JT Toppin, who's been in college for a while, no. He turned around in the subway, and you had to think he's starting to believe.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
So, yeah. Your thoughts on him before, I'll obviously chip in, but your thoughts real quick. I've got it on for a while. What are your thoughts of his offense? Do you like him? Again, 6'3", sophomore. He's kind of, I don't want to say a mini Shea, but in a way it's like he's mini in the sense that he's not, 6'7", 6'6", or whatever the heck Shea is, but he's a solid size, yeah.
You know who he reminds me of? And I'll give you the reason why. And it's going to be like, really? But in some ways, he reminds me a bit of like Mike Conley Jr.
Okay.
And I'll get the reason why. I mean, obviously, I think he's a much more athletic player than Mike Conley Jr. And not that Mike Conley Jr. is no slouch athlete. If you know who his daddy is, you know. Okay, no slouch athletically when you back in the day. The kids nowadays just see little old Mike Conley running around pick and rolls with Gobert. No. Young Mike Conley, he had a little something to his game, especially at Ohio State. I would say this about it, though. The reason why I say Mike Conley Jr. is that you always hear folks complaining about, oh my gosh, man, it's someone just be like a real point guard, like how you have back in the day, blah, blah, this and that. He's one of those guys, I don't think that the highlight package will do him enough justice. I watched the package and I was pretty excited what I saw. But then it happened, guess who came on TV, on national TV yesterday? I was like, lo and behold, your old boy Beyond was settling in and said, let me watch some Call of Hoops today. And lo and behold, who's on TV? I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until about a few minutes. Like, wait, Texas Tech, hold on. The man, the moment, the myth, the legend himself, Christian Anderson was on. And the reason why I say there's a difference watching versus scouting or just kind of looking at highlights is the things that he does, the intangible things, where it's like he knows how to run an offense, man. It is such a lost art. And I mean, you saw my faces watching him. I literally, my face had like, the Joker smile. I was just smiling like, oh my gosh. I see a young player nowadays actually can read the game, understand like, oh, here's the moment where I make my move to kind of kind of go in and start attacking. Here's my moment where my teammates really got cooking. Let me feed them some more. It was a thing of beauty. My gosh, it was like truly maestro level stuff here. This is for a sophomore, and it's like, I mean, is those type of things where I'm looking at like, oh, this dude's playing at a different type of level. Like offensively, I see him as a 3-level type of capability scorer. He can shoot it from 3. He can get his own big shot to bounce. Is he as athletic as some of the other guards that we might discuss, like Flemings or obviously Peterson? No, he's not at that level, but he's no slouch athletically as well too. So he can get a lot of stuff and get in some tight corners and make some moves. He has a nice when he's ready. You get the hoop and you can finish at a high percentage around the basket, which is always a great ding ding ding. So he has a soft touch. He does use the floater sometimes. He doesn't always, but it's something he can go to at times when he needs to and finish at tough angles. He's he has capability of drawing fouls, which we always like. So from that perspective, that is a good thing to see, especially for a player his size. They'd be able to draw fouls. He's 6'3", which is a little bit, I mean, I would love to see him in our inter too, but that's all right. He's right at the cusp, but at 6'3", but my goodness, he has a way of playing bigger even at 6'3". And as I said before, the ability for him, just take an example yesterday. They're playing the number 4 team in the country, Iowa State. Iowa State is notorious for putting pressure on you. They'll trap you anywhere. And the way he was able to get out of those traps, and then at times late in the game, he got into some foul trouble. So it was interesting to watch that from a standpoint like, okay, how is he going to manage himself with 4 fouls? And he figured out ways to kind of be disciplined enough to not get that 5th foul. And then on offense, watching him kind of just orchestrate, seeing his man Petty had it going. And Petty hit some incredible shots when Iowa State was making a run. And he kept feeding him, looking for him, trying to find the matchup, find the mismatches to get Petty on the big. It was just really great stuff to watch, man. And then when necessary, he hit I think he had a basket or 2 late to kind of ice it when needed. But he never forced it. And that's why I thought it was a beautiful thing to watch, how he could find and figure out where to find the advantages, for him or his teammates. Really, really great to see, man. He's the first guy we've done so far as a third guy where I am like, okay. It's like, he's the first guy we're like, yo, dudes, if you're there, Raptors, we need to talk.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Senek obviously is someone that we've done so far. Also, Ben Sturts. Nice. We're just getting into it. But I mean, I think we all came away from the Ben Sturts tape saying, okay, like this guy's solid, but it's not like, must watch TV. I got it for you old heads out there. I got a TiVo this or anything like that, right? Like it ain't. You can catch it on the rewind later, right? Where you don't have to rewind it yourself. That's okay. So that's where I go. I mean, my thoughts are on it. I mean, he's taking a lot of attempts from 3. 8 out of 14 of his shots are coming from beyond the arc, but he's hitting 43% of them. And yet, even with that, he's still getting to the line 4 times. The remaining side, like he's fairly efficient actually. I'm not going to compare him to the Jet, right? But he certainly can put on the Jets. He's shooting from the field overall. I believe, actually, I'll just tell you, from 2, it's almost 60%, 57%. Obviously we talked about his 3-point shooting already, which is, just so that people are reminded, it's 43%. He shoots around 80% at the line. Like, he's a very efficient player. But I think, to me, the fact is, as we talk about scaling, right? Someone that could, scale up or down. He had not a lower usage role, but like a role where he's more looking to get JT Toppin involved, because that was really kind of, in some ways, their true star of that team. And with him out and being injured, this guy has, again, he's really been able to step up and scale up. And he is not shying away from the moment. And yet he's able to still balance the ability to get his own shot, get to the rim, where he has a little bit of a floater game, but he does not rely on the floater game. He really likes to get, and it's not just getting to the rim where you're kind of like, it's like he's getting to the rim and slapping the backboard. Like, he's getting up there.
Yeah.
He's getting past his man. And here's the other thing. Not only does he have a good first step, to me, in terms of his offense, I'm finding that he's patient, right? So he picks his spots. Like he'll like kind of probe, and be like, no, 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 not yet. Kind of wait and then go. And yet he can be a pick and roll operator, right? Like Ben Sturts. However, he's not overly reliant on the pick and roll. Obviously, I would say, I need to see a little bit more from like the quote unquote the mid range overall. But like that's picking it. I think he has the skills, he has the handle to get that it with time. And he assists at around his teammates around 35.8% of the time on his possessions, which is really it's up there with a Ben Sturts without the need to do the pick and roll stuff. And even out of the pick and roll, like he's doing quite a lot, so it's good. He doesn't need a dance partner to find ways to create an advantage for others. I could go on and on, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you room to talk. But there's a few other things. Okay.
No. I just to give from the game yesterday, Iowa State. I mean, 14.7 assists, 3 rebounds, and 1 steal. A few turnovers in this case, but as I said before, the pressure of Iowa State is going to inflict that a little bit. But I thought he handled it really well, and I think it's the intangibles to me is just like his greatest strength. And you mentioned just the patience and just understanding how to read a game, man. It's a lost art. And watching him figure out when he needed to score and he had to have the ball in his hands and when to find guys that were feeling it. Because sometimes when you're the dude, he's like, especially when you've been sitting on the bench for a while, you just feel like I got to get a couple off. And he never really forced it in that sense, considering he was sitting on the bench for almost the second, at least more than half the second half. He's like, no, man, I'm going to read the game. And it's like, yo, right now, my man, my backcourt mate Petty's got cooking. We're going to ride this till it falls off. I'm just old school.
Yeah, right till the wheel fall off.
Yeah, man. Old school Detroit Pistons, Chuck Daly, man. We're going to run this play for Vinny Johnson until someone stops it. He got it cooking 100%. And the microwave rolling. So, like, I mean, he has a way of doing that. And it's like, it's a lost art for a lot of young guards out there, man. And it was a pleasure to watch, man. I said before, I wasn't expecting that, and I think also too, he's athletic, but he has a dynamism to his game. Like he has a pop to his game.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
I'll hand it over to you, but it's like your eyes kind of act the way just gravitate towards him. Like
I said, you can put it on the Jets for sure. But here's the other thing that I noticed. Right, I'm going to juxtapose him with a guy in the NBA, Emmanuel Quickley. So Emmanuel Quickley does not. He struggles to get to the rim. He's not patient, all that type of stuff. I'm not here to like trash Emmanuel Quickley, but I think the point is that Emmanuel Quickley sometimes you can tell he gets sped up and rushed. And then in terms of Emmanuel, he has hit some tough buckets and stuff like that, but in and around the hoop, he's not doing that as much. This guy, 6'3", he's around the same height as Quickley, I would say, but he has. Even though he's slender, he has like a way about him. He has more core strength for sure, and that's what I noticed because you talked about the dynamic nature of his game, where he gets hit going to the hoop. He doesn't shy away from contact, but he's also like he gets hit and like adjusts and like gets it in all in one motion, no problems. Cool, calm, collected. And then when he wants to, he comes off a screen or whatever, he just lets it fly with ease. I don't have the catch and shoot numbers on me, but like he can play off ball as well if that's something that you want. So he's someone that would just slot in really nicely. Much to the chagrin of many, Darko really doesn't like getting young players a ton of time. I mean, the only reason that CMB is getting the time that he was is mainly because of all the injuries that happened, and then he got a force fed his way, and then he's just like, okay, now he's earned his spot. I think what you're gonna see here is this guy will fit in right away, but also he'll find ways to work in multiple different ways that will allow him, if the front office is slow at making moves, to kind of slot in quite nicely there. I mean, he makes good decisions in transition, so he's a good full court player. A nice array of different moves, whether it's spin moves, different euros. I mean, some people are talking about him as one of the best scoring point guards in this draft, and he is moving up he's moving up the boards. He actually might be there where we are, depending on where we end up. He may not be, but I definitely do think that it's something. He's someone to keep.
Well, I'll get at the end. I guess we'll get to the kind of the Raptors element of this.
Yes.
But,
Yeah.
I will say this from a standpoint of I don't even think actually as great as as great as his scoring might be. I think actually based on what I saw yesterday, I think his passing might be actually
Yes.
better.
Yeah.
My God,
Yeah.
vision. He hit some passes yesterday where it had me out my seat. Where it's like, oh snap! He
Yeah.
had one where a guy was coming up to the 3-point line and he like immediately hit a no look for a guy cutting the baseline. It's like, oh my gosh, for a dunk. I'm like, yo, this
Yeah.
dude's a joke with the passing, man. Hit some sweet, and he's one of the guys, a couple in the pick and roll where he's like, oh man, just beautiful passes up the big, no problem, bounce pass, a little drop pass in this case for guys. Like his passing he was seeing plays 2 plays ahead of folks. I
Yeah.
mentioned it before. I think he had 7 assists. Like he was moving things around. Like he was impressive, man. Like and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the passing is to me was like yeah, like that for a guard, for a college guard. In this day and age, he was seeing some stuff. I wouldn't say it's like I saw Jason Kidd style when he was a college guy, because Kidd was like next level. But it was or even Chris Paul when he was in college. Chris Paul obviously was at a different level, but from a passing standpoint, in this day and age, it's pretty damn good, man.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, and I think he had a nice blend of being patient and yet being willing to make. Because Chris Paul would not make dangerous passes at all. He's not,
No.
he's just going for the most conservative play ever, which sometimes is nice. But sometimes you need someone like a more of a Lowry, where it's kind of a blend between that and someone who can kind of do a remix of that and being a bit more proactive with their passing rather than reactive. And I think he's a very proactive passer. There's a difference between. So I talked about the full court. In the half court, he has the patience, as I said, which is great to read the game. But if you need him to get sped up or whatever in terms of his pace, he is able to play at different paces comfortably. I mean, I'm not saying that he's as fast as like a Jaden Ivey. I would probably argue that he is not, but I think overall I'm pretty impressed with him. Any final thoughts about his defense? And then
The defense side. Well, I'll just say this with your Chris Paul thing, which is true. Is like playoff wise, that's the reason why probably Chris Paul used to have trouble with playoffs, because the old saying goes, man, no biscuit, you ain't gonna risk it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And as far as the defense goes, I mean, Anderson, like he obviously a little smaller, slight, but what I like with him is that he didn't give you a fight. Like he's not a player that's going to kind of just lay down and say, well, I'm a little smaller than the guy on the mismatch. He's going to fight for position if he gets caught in a mismatch in the post. To quote my man, Bill Raftery, he moves the puppies. He moves the puppies, and he gets in front of guys. He's always going to give it his all for a defensive standpoint. So he's not going to be a detriment on your defense. And I mean, considering the type of team that the Raptors have and other teams are looking for, guys that can actually stay in front of their guys. I mean, I think he's going to move up a lot of boards because he competes on defense, and he stays in front of guys for the most part, and he doesn't give up when he gets caught in the post with bigger players, man. Like, I mean, he made a great defensive play yesterday on the baseline that kind of caught the guy off guard, which drew a travel. He came out nowhere, saw the play ahead of time. He's like, yo, let me get over here, cut off his angle from the baseline, and force a travel before he even got to the double team. So he has ways about him to, challenging perimeter shots without kind of making silly fouls and stuff like that. He's just very mindful defensively, so, very cerebral.
I will say this. So I have some of these are kind of dated numbers, but I have some of these numbers, courtesy of No Ceilings, just because I don't have access to Synergy right at this exact moment. But just, to talk about his jumpers, on all jumpers, this is before, so it was 51% back then. But back then, he was shooting over 50% on catch and shoots. Off the dribble three-pointers, 45.8. Okay, and at the rim at the time, he was shooting 67%. Sorry, 63%.
My goodness.
So it doesn't get much better at that from that standpoint.
Yeah, and I mean, I look at our friends at No Ceilings as well too. This is the February 10th article talking about him, and I had a stat here just jumped out. They put it in bold too, just in case you missed it. So this is February 10th. So I mean, they might come down a little bit because he's in foul trouble. But he said that Anderson this season, as of February 10th, he played roughly 96 of the available minutes for Texas Tech. which is driven by two key factors. They say, first off, his incredible well condition to
Right.
operate that much with the ball in his hands and not tire out. Second, that he doesn't get in foul trouble, which is ironic because he did get in foul trouble this Saturday. But they were able to kind of survive the minutes without him. But that's an unbelievable stat. I said it might be down to 94 minutes or 92 minutes now based on what happened on Saturday. But that's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean it's a loaded guard class for sure. Not just point guards, but guards in general. Lots of really good players, but I think he stacks up there. And again, just because of the loaded nature of it, he or someone else may fall. So stay tuned for sure. Yeah, I think it'll be. He's going to be a very interesting player, and I think even though he's undersized for what you may want or what my dreams are, I think he hits the minimum height requirement.
He's right there, yeah. He's just there. He's almost right there. It's not something where I was like, okay, you need to get the extra inch in this case. It'd be 6'4".
Yeah.
I'm not passing up what I see here. He's got enough there.
Yeah. And he has enough juice in the other ways, and also you're not necessarily gonna build your entire offense around him, but can he run an offense 100%? And that's the key thing, right? If you now to switch over to kind of more of a Raptor side of things, we won't get into it here entirely, but sometimes there are times we see an Ingram, for example, have to do a little bit too much throughout a game and then get tuckered out at the end of the games. And then you're relying on Scotty to kind of pick up the mantle a bit. And Scotty can do what he can, but Scotty at times can only do what he can. And so having another person on the court, I know people are looking at IQ, but it's just a different type of guard. Sometimes when IQ will go off for 30, it doesn't feel like the team is really feeling it, right? If that makes sense. And they might even win, but it just doesn't really feel like the team's getting better and feeding off that energy for whatever reason. So
because IQ just has no natural inclination or instinct from a point guard standpoint. He just can't read the game. I just be honest with it.
He's trying,
but it's not a natural thing for him. No. You'll sit there and watch it. It's okay, he'll come down the court. Say Scotty has it going and hit a couple shots in a row. Okay, you might want to go back to that matchup again. Oh no!
People compare him to, I guess it makes sense because I believe it's the same draft class, but Maxey, for example, right?
Yeah,
same team, college team as well.
Yeah, but Maxey actually has natural point guard instincts. Maxey knows when if VJ's got going a little bit.
Maxey sometimes can, gets caught that way, but
not. Yeah. It's still more natural for Maxey. And Maxey can read the game a much better and say, okay, you know what? I know I can get my 30 when I need to. Okay, VJ's got rolling right now. I'm going to ride this for a few minutes. And I see Maxey kind of he'll play off ball or just run the offense like a normal point guard. It's not like IQ doesn't have that instinct at all, man. It's and this kid in my mind, it's I'm just going to simplify it. Quite honestly, he's a nice young man. I'm sure he's going to have a nice career and he'll be fine on their team. But I would say it's been fun, Jamal. I would just say, you know what? All those minutes there would go to this kid, and just move on from Shed. I see no reason if this kid's on the board and you pick him that we're gonna have this little musical chairs type of thing. Why am I having musical chairs while number one pick? They'll probably be in the mid-teens or late teens, and got that type of skill set. And I'm messing around with Shed. That makes no sense.
Well, this is not a slight on Shed entirely, but you know what? Let's just keep it a buck. There's a difference in general, not always, but in general, of drafting a guy in the first round, even a mid-first round, versus drafting a guy in the middle of the second round.
Exactly. And the fact is, the reason why is he has skill sets that Shed just does not have.
Yeah, I think Shed is a naturally inclined leader. You might even want to keep Shed, for example, just to have that presence in the locker room. But there's levels to this, and I just think from number one on an offensive standpoint, it just doesn't compare. Folks, it just doesn't compare. And then from a defensive standpoint, I think what we've been finding is that Shed it might be possible that Houston's just been really good because of their coach at producing these defensive talents from a college standpoint because of the system. I don't know if he's a defensive system guy, but he has not been quite as effective defensively as he was hyped.
Well, I think is the styles of play versus college versus the big boys, right?
It's also the size.
Yeah, we got the size. Yeah, but true, the size was there, but the difference is like it's all about the coach to run their system. So they're not going to be matching and headhunting, right? The quote to Kevin Durant is like, the point when you talk about Garland, mouse in the house. We just didn't do that. Figure it out, right? And so in the NBA, it's like, hey, man, unfortunately, man, with all due respect, we're not running the system. The system is who's got the matchup more times than not, and where's the smallest guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, your hand is up all the time because that's where we're going. And that's so unlike a college team where you'll have I'm running my system, at Duke or North Carolina. So I'm just ignoring what the matchup might be. I must run my offense a certain way because I am super coach and I do everything. Everything comes through me. I don't work in the NBA, guy. If I see the matchup, the switch, and a 6'10" dude's getting shit on him, it's a wrap. So I just think and I think the reason why that wouldn't work, even keeping shit, is that the Raptors find so many ways to have so many own goals. It's not funny.
Well, the other thing is I believe he's expiring next year.
Yeah, exactly. Where the thing, I think
I have to double check
that. 2-year deal. He's a 2-year deal. I think.
I thought it was a 3-year.
Because why would you give like that guy a deal? I understand they want to give him a deal, but it's like to give him a deal like that. Therefore, there's certain expectations, a mindset that he has versus your typical second round pick.
Yeah, it was a 3-year deal. Well, I think I agree with you, but they also at the time did not have anyone in their point guard prospect pipeline, so to speak. So there are elements of that that I think come into play, and unfortunately for Shed, like that, as those things come into play, it's just like he had to get elevated early.
That's even better then. You could trade him now. Good. Okay.
Okay, fair enough.
You get some value for him. There you go. Everyone's happy.
I mean, he is on his still a rookie scale deal next year, as well as the RFA and stuff like that. But yeah, no, in terms of having someone long term in the point guard with the upside to start, I think you're looking at Christian Anderson, not Jamal Shed. I know some people have said they want Jamal Shed to start, and I understand where those people are coming from, but I also you have to remember that sometimes you're skewed by the fact that you are seeing je ne sais quoi. The point guard play is so bad that you're just used to that.
The bar is this low, right?
Yeah.
Really, guys? Shed starting? Oh, come on, man. We try to be serious out here. Come on, man.
Yes.
Seriously, man. And to me, this kid gets in here, and this is the only reason why I'm not too concerned about him with a Darko run offense. Because I always say, Darko loves his point guard run offenses, and if he's a point guard, that's the one young guy that will always get minutes. If you're a point guard on Darko team, you will get minutes.
And regardless of moving off, it's just like, I just think, even if Shed's like, it would bump him down to a more natural, like a third guard kind of a thing, or if he were to share the court with Christian Anderson, that'd be a better fit if you wanted to try that rather than what it currently is. And also, even if Christian Anderson could, to bring it full circle back to him, I think, could he work with Scotty? Yes, he could. Could he work with, he could work with a lot of different guys.
I would say he's the type of guard that if he was on this team right now, he would be almost like Grady's blanket, like Lions' blanket, because he would find ways to get a guy like Grady going. Like that's how point guards do. It's like, okay, can I find an easy shot for Grady? And if he sees Grady get one or two, he's gonna look for him again.
He might, but that time might be past for Grady because I think. Grady,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If he was on this team, I mean,
I think he'd have to be on the team. Like if you put him on the team today, it's like I think Grady has issues up here right now.
Yeah,
he has to sort out. So, and I don't know.
I agreed. And I think for his sake, as I said before, I said the trade deadline. I had no problem moving off of Grady for everybody's sake, and especially for his sake, because I don't think really this management is really done a service for him. Everybody's got different personalities, and you can't use the same personality for everybody.
No,
you got to be able to manage the personalities you have a little differently. And yes. I think this coaching staff is kind of dropped the ball on that. Let's put it
there was a moment there where both him and Grady coming off the bench together. Jacoby and Grady coming off the bench together worked, but then at some points it's like you might need to mix and match the lineups more. And to be fair, the talent is kind of a weird thing to mix and match from a Raptors standpoint. But with that being said, I think we've covered draft talk. We want to get into other things, so people stay tuned. This is probably going to come out later, but stay tuned either way, and like, comment, and subscribe. Take care, people, and peace.